The internet. It connects us, empowers us, and yeah, it entertains us. But just beneath that surface of social media feeds and search results, there is a whole, highly organized underbelly. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's called online deviance, to really dig into the groups, the tactics, and the technologies that are actively working to shape what you see and what you believe online. Just to get a sense of the scale we're dealing with, think about this. Every single day, we create something like 2.5 million terabytes of new data. I mean, that's a mind-blowing amount. And it's not just your vacation photos and work emails. It's the digital ocean where all online activity, the good and the very, very bad, takes place. And that really gets to the heart of the internet's big problem. It's a double-edged sword, right? It was designed with all these amazing, positive goals in mind. Connecting with family, finding a job, learning new things. But that exact same open design has also become the perfect breeding ground for some really nasty stuff, from cybercrime all the way up to cyber terrorism. Okay, so when we talk about this darker side of the internet, what do we actually mean by online deviance? It's not just a catch-all for random trolling. Researchers actually have a pretty specific framework for understanding it. You know, the word deviance itself just means straying from the norm. But for this discussion, we're focusing entirely on the negative stuff. We're talking about behavior that's unusual, sure, but also illegal, or has a genuinely harmful impact on society. To get a handle on this whole thing, researchers break it down into 4 main areas. And to really get how this all works, we're going to zoom in on 2 of them: the deviant groups, the who, and the deviant tactics, the playbook they use. First up, let's talk about the who. And we're not just talking about isolated individuals here. We are talking about organized and often really well-funded groups that have very specific goals. And when you look at who these players are, they fall into some pretty clear buckets. You've got everything from terrorist organizations using social media to recruit people, to state-sponsored propagandists spreading disinformation, all the way to criminal hacker networks and, yes, internet trolls. So let's start with what the research calls deviant hacker networks. These are coordinated groups of black hat hackers, the ones with malicious intent. And this isn't some abstract threat. In 2015, a Russian-backed group launched a cyber attack that actually knocked out parts of Ukraine's power grid. We're talking about real-world consequences here. Then you've got your internet trolls. Now, we all have this image of a troll as some lone person just causing trouble for kicks. But increasingly, this is an organized paid job. Take the Kremlin's troll army. It's a state-funded operation with legions of commenters paid to push propaganda and sow disinformation, basically 24/7. All right, so we know who some of the players are, but how do they actually do what they do? Well, it turns out it's not random. They have a whole playbook of specific events and tactics, a coordinated strategy that's designed to get them what they want. A really key part of that playbook is something called a deviant cyber flash mob. Think of a regular flash mob, right? It's coordinated online. But with these, instead of a surprise dance number, the whole point is to cause harm, to damage property, or to do something flat out illegal. And this slide just lays out the difference perfectly. On the left, you see what we all think of as a flash mob. You know, harmless fun, some coordinated dancing. But on the right, you have a bash mob, an event put together online for one reason: theft and assault. It's the same method of organizing, but with a radically different and deviant goal. As one research paper put it pretty bluntly, the problem of deviance in social media is broad and big. And these groups and events are just one piece of a much larger, much more complicated puzzle of tactics. So let's look at one of their cleverest moves. It's called #latching. The hacker group Anonymous did this. For one of their campaigns, #OpNim, they attached it to the incredibly popular #Rio 2016 hashtag during the Olympics. Why would they do that? Simple. To instantly inject their message into a massive, global conversation that had absolutely nothing to do with them. It's a textbook way to hijack attention. They also use coded language. So, when you see Anonymous use the #TangoDown, it's not just random slang. It's a public signal. It tells their followers that a target is down, that their attack to flood a website with traffic and crash it was successful. It's their way of communicating covertly right out in public. But maybe the most powerful tool in this entire arsenal is the social bot. And let's be clear, these aren't the helpful little programs you see on websites. These are computer programs specifically designed to act like real people on social media to amplify propaganda, spread lies, and artificially warp public opinion. And the sheer scale of this is it's mind-boggling. One study estimated that as many as 15% of all Twitter accounts are actually bots. That comes out to nearly 48 million accounts that aren't human, and a lot of them are part of these deviant networks. And it's not just one simple program running. A really sophisticated botnet works like a little factory. You've got generator bots that create the original propaganda. Then amplifier bots just retweet it thousands of times to make it trend. And finally, you have these peripheral bots, which are designed to look way more like real people, and they jump in and engage with the content to give it this fake sense of credibility. So you put it all together, the groups, these deviant flash mobs, the botnets, and you get this incredibly complex digital ecosystem. So how on earth do researchers even start to study this, let alone predict what these digital mobs are going to do next? And that really is the core challenge here. I mean, with so many moving parts, so many different players and motivations, how can you possibly predict if a new deviant campaign is going to catch on and succeed, or if it's just going to fizzle out before it even gets started? Well, they turn to social science, specifically theories about collective action, how crowds behave. Researchers build these pretty complex mathematical models that weigh all these different factors, like how invested someone is in the outcome and how much control they have, all to try and calculate the probability of success. It's basically a way of putting numbers to mob dynamics. So let's tie this all together. The big takeaways are this. Online deviance is not random chaos. It's an organized ecosystem. It involves distinct groups, everyone from paid trolls to criminal hackers. These groups use a very specific playbook of tactics, like bots and hashtag latching, to get their message out. And, as you can probably tell, trying to understand and predict all this coordinated behavior is a massive, massive challenge. Which really leaves us with one final and I think critical question. Knowing that there are organized, well-funded armies of bots and trolls out there actively trying to manipulate online conversations, how do we as individuals decide what information to trust and what to amplify? That is definitely something to think about the next time you're scrolling through your feed.